You are listening to the Body Charge podcast, and I'm your host, Sandy Sanderson. Welcome to the Body Charge podcast. I'd like to introduce to you Arsalan Al Hashimi for the topic today of strategies to recover from burnout. He's a high-performance master coach and a mentor who helps successful, ambitious leaders and pro athletes perform at peak levels in the vital areas of their lives to experience unwavering joy and true inner freedom. He had an illustrious corporate and government career, worked on multi-billion-dollar projects in the aviation and transportation industries in Marcom's project management and strategy. Wow. He was also a competitive athlete, holding titles like national and regional squash champion and collegiate athlete, NCAA and Club Division I in volleyball and beach volleyball, and he trained for and competed in Ironman races. I must bow before you because I can't do anywhere near that much. That's amazing. So Arsalan, how did you manage to cram so much into your life and do well at it? Tell us a bit about what you learned on your journey up to the summit.
Well, thank you so much for that introduction. It doesn't get boring hearing it, to be honest with you. You're saying it and I'm shocked, to be very frank. It's trying to, as you said, trying to cram so much into so much little time is actually what got me to start working with burnout, because I've burnt myself out so many times doing all this stuff, and I wouldn't change it for the world, to be honest with you. It's gotten me to where I am, but maybe I would have done things a little differently, knowing what I know now. I was kind of born and bred to be a high achiever and a high performer, that kind of mindset. Number two was never allowed at home, or even accepted by my parents. My parents were the kind of parents, if I got 99% at school, they would focus on the 1% that was lost, So I grew up around that, and then it just kind of transferred into everything I did. So I was the same at school. I was the same when I played squash as a junior, even into university and into my career. I just had this kind of like driving force, which I work with my clients a lot, because I think one of the most important things to understand is what drives you. And with a lot of high achievers, that kind of personality, type A personality, high achiever, high performer, they usually attach their reasons and their purposes to something negative without even understanding that that's what's happening in the background. So for me, it was always...
Some people might choose to strive for the impossible because they don't feel worthy. Could that be sometimes it's never, like that song, Never Enough?
Yes, absolutely. I think that is... So I'm a master hypnotist and a master NLP practitioner. So and the reason I started getting really interested in these modalities was because there was a point in my life where I got extremely what's the word? Obsessed with how the mind works, and specifically the difference between conscious and unconscious. And
it's a fascinating playground.
Yeah, it is very fascinating. I mean, it's never a dull moment, I can tell you that. So what you were saying was absolutely at the core of why I was doing things, because I always felt like I wasn't worthy of love, I wasn't worthy of attention, unless I was successful. And I work with professional athletes, as you mentioned in your introduction, and I work with, for some reason, there was a period of my life where I worked with a lot of MMA fighters, and they display that at a high level, because you see these people that are in the ring, that look like the epitome of what an athlete should look like. They're so honed, they're so well trained, they're very aggressive. Yet if you talk to them honestly and vulnerably, you'll find out that they're actually being driven by really deep wounds and very traumatic events in their lives. And this story that you're talking about, the story that's playing in the background about them not being worthy or not being understood. And so it comes out in different ways.
Do they get very, is it a prerequisite to tap into that intense emotion in order to achieve those summits and those great heights and to put the flag on top of the mountain? Is it necessary, or is there another pathway up that mountain without drawing on the negatives?
I mean, look, there is absolutely a positive side to being driven by something negative, because what it causes is it causes you to tap into systems in your body that are fight or flight kind of systems, which is, extreme stress. And there is an argument to say that athletes need to tap into that place to be able to achieve the kind of feats that they're achieving and get to the top. The only problem with that is that the long-term effect of it, if it becomes very chronic, will have very negative side effects in your body, in your mind, and because it's affecting you so much on a body mind level, it will kind of project into your life. So for me, I think that it can get you to a certain place. This is what I'm seeing. It'll get you to a certain place. It will drive you to a certain place. But then at some point, you need to make a conscious decision to shift that in order to have sustainability in your career.
So
and in order to become a better leader, an athlete, whatever, a lot of leaders that get to the age of 35, 40, 45 and are kind of lost because they don't have their purpose. They don't understand why they're doing it anymore. They fell out of love of what they initially were very passionate about, is for that reason. It's because they got to the point where they burnt themselves out so much with this negative driving force, and they haven't switched it to a positive purpose. Sorry, I cut you there.
That's all right. I was just going to support what you just said about finding the reason of why you do something. So in the beginning, we I guess when we're younger, in that younger mindset, we seek approval. We just want to be good, and we want, everyone to approve of what we're doing and to think we're fantastic and great. And, so it's an emotional reward, isn't it? It's a big dopamine hit. And then as you burn yourself out, because it's never enough, you can never really reach the summit. I mean, you physically might reach the summit, but there's something inside that's still missing, which is why it's not sustainable, because you haven't really learned the reason for your mission in life yet and why you do what you do. And I think this is an overarching thing for everyone on the planet. Every human being has to find their why. Why am I here, and why do I do what I do, and why am I building something, and what's the point? Always, what's the point? This is probably like a midlife crisis. I don't know if you call it midlife in athletic terms, but yeah. So after the burnout, these are all the questions that can pop up. So you're a little bit like a psychologist that helps the athletes recover and find their why again. Would you say that?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's at the core of what we do at the beginning of the method I created, which is the Ascension method, which is the first few steps are all about understanding why we do things on a conscious versus unconscious level. And then after that kind of educational part, we go into actually modalities like hypnosis and stuff like that to understand what is actually the root cause of the problem. Because mind you, I mean, you're talking about the summit, and I use exactly that language, which is
why I read your bio.
Yeah. All right, awesome. Yeah. So a lot of the people I work with have already reached the summit, but they've reached the summit completely depleted and cannot find joy in their lives because they've been driving themselves so much in one aspect of their life, usually, that they've kind of left everything else behind. And the kind of problems I hear is, my marriage is falling apart, my kids hate me, I'm not having fun, I don't have friends anymore, It's pretty endemic. Like if you see a lot of the athletes, the professional athletes that have come out and spoken about their battles with depression for a very long time, it's usually I think are you there? Because you froze, your video
Yeah.
froze.
Oh, I'm here. Are you here?
Okay, yeah, okay. Yeah, that's better. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, and the one thing they talk about is we've been focusing so much on getting that Olympic medal or repetition of the Olympic medal that now that I have it, I'm looking around and I'm like, I don't have anybody to celebrate with. I don't have
Yeah.
anybody to call. I don't have anything, and the meaning of life all of a sudden is, it becomes that purpose you're talking about, that why. All of a sudden you're like, that big question, why have I been doing this my whole life? I don't
I
understand.
got to the goal and I still feel empty and still something is missing. And
Yes.
so did you know also, because while you were talking, I was thinking about burnout, and it's quite common for an athlete or anyone doing excessive physical activity. It might be a tradesman working on a building site, but if you push your body very hard or do a lot of training and you can overtrain, you can deplete your magnesium reserves. And the low magnesium actually causes depression as well. And so when you replenish magnesium, you can recover from the stress and become more resilient and recover, because depression is just a lack of energy. It's your body going into safe mode like the computer and going, I don't have the reserves enough for full capacity function. And so everything is going to be a little bit less, including brain function. So depression is really depression of energy levels. And that's why we need a lot of rest to recover. We need to put the good nutrition in. Of course, in the athletic world, you know all about the good nutrition more than most people, but they still a lot of the time forget about the magnesium. And so that's one of the reasons that we do what we do at Elektra Magnesium. We provide transdermal magnesium for fast, efficient uptake. We have a lot of athletes using it also for injury recovery as well, because it's an anti-inflammatory. It's not toxic, and there's no drugs involved.
Yeah.
Very
I mean,
important.
look, you're preaching to the choir, because I've had a long journey with magnesium. Like literally, I have researched magnesium so deeply, and I've used it so successfully for myself and for, you know, I would say that every single person that comes through my practice, I put them on magnesium, on a very high dose of magnesium to start with. I read this research that magnesium isn't a very toxic mineral. So whatever you're not using, you kind of passes through urine.
Yes, we need a lot,
Or
Joe. Yeah, we need a lot. Most people are deficient.
yeah,
The
yeah.
problem
So
is, yeah,
the numbers that are on usually on the magnesium supplements are usually not enough. They're good for people that have sufficient magnesium reserves, and they just need to kind of supplement. But the reality is that the amount of magnesium that you actually need, if your reserves are depleted, or if you're in burnout, is maybe 3-4 times that.
yes,
And
and that's assuming that you're actually going to be able to digest those tablets and powders,
yes,
get it through the
yes,
gut wall. And
yeah,
that's a big problem, because for a lot of people it causes diarrhea, so they can't get high amounts through the gut wall. In fact, studies have shown that your optimal absorption through the gut wall is what would be in food and natural spring water, which is actually a low dose. But when you're drinking your mineral water over a 24-hour period, even at a low dose, you're getting a significant amount. If you have the magnesium in the drinking water, you don't actually need high concentrations. However, for athletic performance and exercise, or even for people who are stiff with arthritis, all sorts of reasons, you can get very high doses through the skin via massage, and there is no digestion involved in that case, so it goes in faster and better to calm and relax the muscles so that we can recover better. And very, very good for stress relief and to help you sleep better, because we know that a good deep sleep is very restorative and helps you bounce back after a big exercise session.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's magnesium is such a big topic because, it all depends on what chelates you're taking. And there are so many chelates that correspond to so many different aspects, right? The way I went about it, and mind you, when I discovered that I was magnesium deficient, nobody was speaking about magnesium. This was like approximately 10 years ago, when that magnesium conversation wasn't really actually happening. And I heard a podcast interview. I wish I could imagine. I remember what doctor it was, but he's very popular in the magnesium world. And he was saying that the best way to understand how much magnesium you need is, and I'm talking about pill form now. I respect and I understand exactly what you're saying. I'm just talking about my journey, is to take the amount that's on the box, the recommended amount, and then see how you feel, and increase by one pill every day until you get to the point where you have diarrhea or you feel like your stomach is
Yeah,
going.
that's the
And
vitamin C
then,
method as well.
yeah, same as the vitamin C method, yeah. And then pull one back and keep going that until you get diarrhea, and then pull one back and pull one back and pull one back. And that literally saved my life. Literally.
Well,
It was,
yes, you will
sorry.
be getting some absorption through the gut wall, but it doesn't compare with transdermal capacity because the skin is the largest organ in the body. So here's a trick for you if you want to try, because when your skin absorbs the magnesium, especially in the context of fats as well, because the skin is lipophilic, it loves to soak up fat. You can store a lot of magnesium in your epidermis. So imagine how good that would be on a long distance run, for instance, or a big, marathon, that you have extra reserves in storage in your own cells for pre and post needs.
Yeah,
So
I use both. I actually
yeah,
use transdermal, and I also use pills. It depends, because there are some of the chelates that I use that are extremely brain permeable. I don't know if I'm using the right words in English, but it's extremely brain permeable that I can't find very often in transdermal.
yeah.
And
So let me
uh,
explain the chelates that are often used together with magnesium. These are often amino acids that we may need, especially when we're an athlete. We may need those certain proteins to resupply our system, and certain proteins then are used for different aspects, for building different organs, for replenishing brain, for making enzymes. At the end of the day, magnesium is always an ion, and it's always its own element, and the body moves it to wherever it needs, where whatever cells and whatever part of the body is needed, it takes that same magnesium, and it doesn't necessarily take the amino acid that it originally came with that went through the digestive system. So I think this is very much a misconception that happens sometimes in the marketplace, where people think, oh, only this type of magnesium goes into my kidneys, or only this type of magnesium goes into my brain. It's just magnesium, that's it. It's just like water, and that's it. It's not this type of water or that type of water. So yes, once you get past the digestive system and everything is separated, it's reassembled and it's moved wherever it's needed in the body. So all you have to do is make sure that you are able to digest and absorb the nutrients that you take in. And if your digestive system isn't the best, if you're under a lot of stress, which means it's going to be suppressed, then the transdermal route can supply what you need during that recovery phase a
so
lot more efficiently.
what's the difference in the efficiency of transdermal versus in the gut?
So let's say you drank 1 liter of mineral water with magnesium in it, and that spring water had 80 milligram of magnesium elemental. if you drank 3 liters in a 24-hour period, you would be taking up 240 milligram of magnesium very easily through the gut wall, because it's a very low dose over that amount of water and taken in over a longer period of time. So this is what the studies have shown, that taking in a low dose over a longer period is far more successful at getting across the gut wall to the interior of the body compared to one big bolus, like 1, 2, or 300 milligram tablet, most of which, more than half is usually expelled by the digestive system because there's too much in one go. Even if you don't get diarrhea, it's still not passing. All of that magnesium still isn't passing over the gut wall. So so when you have a result and you feel something good happening, some of it's gone through and some of it's working, but not all of it. So
it's what you're saying is it's better for me to, because what I'm doing right now is I am so I have sachets that dissolve in water, and what I'm doing is I am having the full dose right before I sleep in a little bit of water. So what you're saying is maybe divide that quantity into much larger quantities of water and sip on it throughout the day. Is that a better solution?
Yes, you can. But that's right. And you could save your transdermal dose for a little massage your feet or your neck and shoulders around the heart area, because very calming for the heart, and it's very quick to get through the skin in a form of massage. And the heart really needs a lot of magnesium. It's probably the organ in the body that needs more magnesium than anything else, because it's got to run 24/7 without stopping. And it's the fittest.
It's the fittest. It's probably the fittest muscle in the body.
That's it.
Yeah.
So we're nearly coming to the end of our discussion here. I'd like you to just give people a little summary of the most important things they need to have in their mind when they're setting goals, and what kind of mindset is needed to achieve them, where they can manage or avoid the burnout, where they're having fun. You mentioned before, they're not having fun. I think that's the biggest thing, isn't it? You've got to enjoy what you do. Is that the most important thing, the way you see it?
I think that is absolutely the most important thing for me right now, the way I see things and the way and where we are. I feel like we're doing a lot of things like exercising and eating and, nutrition and all of that stuff. And it's coming from a place where I have to do it rather than I want to do it. And to be very honest with you, when I was doing the last Ironman, that's when I had the worst burnout, and it was really bad. I was diagnosed with adrenal fatigue stage 3, and it took me about 2 years to fully recover. And I still feel until today that there's this niggle, there's this kind of subconscious thing because of what I went through that is kind of pulling me back there sometimes, physically and emotionally. But what I was trying to say is that at that point, when I broke down after my last race, I was probably the fittest and most regimented human being on the planet. I was, or at least definitely in the top 1 percentile. So I ate well, I slept well, I had great relationships. That's at the time when I started creating what is now known as the 10 pillars of life mastery. At that point, it was only 5 pillars. And so in terms, if I would have kind of assessed myself along the 5 pillars, I would have been at like 95%. The problem was that my relationship with these things was off. I wasn't doing it because I was enjoying it. It's the same thing as we were saying at the beginning of the conversation. Yeah, I was doing it because I felt like I had to.
It was just work. It reminded me of people getting up and they hate their work and they feel already sick when the day starts, and they don't want to go, but they have to because they've got to put food on the table, but they're not enjoying it. And
I forgot what the statistic. Yeah, I forgot what the statistic was of how many people actually have negative thoughts when they open their eyes, like the first thing they think about. It's a crazy statistic. I forgot what it was. I'll look it up just for my own knowledge, but it's an interesting statistic because a lot of people are struggling a lot. And I think that is the source of the problem, is that we've kind of lost that relationship with ourselves that understands what brings us joy.
I think we get sick in the heart before we get sick in the body. It always
Absolutely.
starts from there. And I think
Absolutely.
if you don't love what you do, find something else. I just
Yeah.
decide to make a change.
Well, I mean, a lot of the problems, if you want to look at it from a more pragmatic kind of, not a spiritual approach, but a lot of the problems is because of mind, brain, heart incoherence. And this is what you're referring to, being sick in the heart, is that all of a sudden there is an imbalance between why you're doing things, and these two stop talking to each other, which is the most important communication line. The heart brain and the brain and the mind. This is the most important kind of conversation you're having, other than the spiritual side of having a conversation with your higher self and intuition and whatever else you believe in that's a higher power. But within you as a human, if you disconnect that coherence and you become incoherent, as they call it, is where all the problems start.
Yeah, it affects relationships, your work, your performance. It affects everything. Well, once you get that together, that body, mind, soul synergy, once you scoop it up and bring it into balance, then everything starts to work. Then you just happen to meet the right people, things work for you in your career. You have the beautiful relationship with lots of love, and there's almost an effortless that creeps in. I find like a slipstream. You're in the middle of the river and the water is carrying you, and there's not much effort involved.
Yes.
That's the
Yes.
sweet
That's
spot on the tennis racket.
the ether.
The
So
zone.
like that's the end of the ascension method, is surrender. Is exactly what you're talking about, is that, okay, we need to do this work on ourselves, and then with the belief system that if we are working on ourselves enough with joy and with sustainability and with resilience and staying in that zone of coherence, then all you need to do is just kind of surrender and watch what the universe is going to do for you, because
And you have to
that's
have
what
faith.
it wants.
You have to have
Yes.
faith and know that the power of your intention is enough to get that ball rolling.
Yes.
And people need that confidence. So that I think that's the work that you must be doing to
Yeah.
help them get that confidence. So if people want
Yeah.
to contact you to find out more, what do they do?
So mostly everything is on my website, which is www.arsalan.co. I just launched a masterclass on there for people to kind of understand a little bit more about what I'm talking about and the ascension method and how it can help them. And that's www.arsalan, my name, ARSALAN.co, not com, co, and then /masterclass. And it's a pretty cool webinar that will definitely shift something in your life for sure.
It sounds so fascinating and very much needed today. So thank you very much for joining us on the Body Charge podcast. I'm sure a lot of people are going to get heaps out of this one because, they're really, I think a lot of people are reaching a nexus point in their lives, with all the stuff going on the planet and the disruption in everything that has been like normal and taken for granted. And, the way of life, everyone's way of life is changing, and there's a lot of increased risk for people. There's a lot of changes. It creates anxiety. So people are looking for, stability, and stability is within. That's the big message. That's the gift in the crisis. The crisis can turn into something really good if we look for it, that it helps shape us into something better.
Yeah. I mean, look, the one thing that people miss, I think, is that the human being is like a projector, and that projection of your life, the quality of your life, is completely dependent on the what you're projecting from the inside. So the most profound work, whether you're looking at it from a spiritual perspective or you're looking at it from a self-maintenance perspective or performance, like I speak about, is to work on yourself first and foremost, and to prioritize yourself first and foremost. That's the most important investment you can make. It's not investing in your kids. It's not investing in your business. It's not investing in all that stuff. It's investing as much as possible on yourself. with, as you said, with the belief system that once I do that, everything on the outside is going to change.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Like I talk to my clients about little shifts, just little shifts, and immediately, like almost the next day, they will get something in response
It's almost like
from the
we're the
reality.
center of our own universe, aren't we?
Yeah, yeah.
And we haven't realized how special we are. And it's not an ego thing.
Absolutely.
It's very humbling when you realize
Yes.
that the power that we have all been given but not used or misused, we don't even know it's there. We don't understand our gifts. So it's a big journey for
Yes.
everyone, not just athletes
Yes.
or
I mean,
leaders.
we're stripped from that since we're kids.
Yeah.
We're stripped from the understanding that we are powerful beyond belief, and it's just a matter of what you believe.
Yes.
We're always taught since we're kids to start becoming so individualized and so in ourselves, and so we diminish our power into thinking that we're this little thing that
very limited.
Is concentrating, very limited, and we lose the the understanding of how unlimited we are. Kids are amazing with that.
The connection with the universe, the connection with the cosmos. We have we're big and expansive. And I think when you work on the mind, you start to realize that more and more. And that then helps project you to your goals, to achieve what you want to achieve. And always remember, a heart must be number one priority.
Yes.
Your heart and your joy. Follow your fun and you will get to the goal and to feeling happy and satisfied.
Yeah. You know, it's quite scary how much we're taught not to have fun.
Yeah.
You know, I remember I just something came up to my mind. I remember when there's an Arabic saying, I'm from Yemen, so I have a kind of like I speak both languages, but there's an Arabic saying that says, laughing for no reason is bad manners. It rhymes in Arabic, but I'm just translating it. And that's what they used to tell us when we were kids. This is like a normal saying that everybody says to everybody, right? In Arabic, it's الضحك بدون سبب من قلة الأدب. You can see how it rhymes. And basically what it's saying is you're not allowed to have joy for no reason, you know? And they used to say that to us a lot when we were kids, amongst other things.
The endorphins the brain releases when you laugh are extremely healing. It's so good for you. It's the best vitamin, apart from sleeping. Laughing and sleeping.
Yeah, I mean they have laughing therapy. I know a guy here in Dubai that does laughing therapy. Like that's literally what he does, and it's awesome. I went once. I'm like, this is great.
Topic for another podcast. We need to finish. Well, thank you so much, Arsalan. I really enjoyed this discussion. Got a lot out of it. Appreciate it.
Me too. Thank you. I'm going to get back on the transdermal magnesium for sure.
Yes. I'll send you an email.
Okay, yeah, please do. All right. Thank you very much. Bye.
I hope you liked this conversation and will share it with others. Let me know what you thought about it in the comments below. If you want to listen to other Body Charge conversations, click like, subscribe, the bell icon, and click all notifications. Subscribe to our newsletter to get updates on blogs, podcasts, videos, and magnesium special offers at electromagnesium.com.au. Relax, recharge, and recover.